All right, can you all hear me okay? As you can tell, I'm very professional streamer here, have a very complicated, complex, well thought out layout. um, but yeah, what's going on, everyone? Thanks for stopping in. Essentially, what this stream is going to be is I'm going to show you guys a bit of the behind the scenes as to how this thing was created. The thing, as in the video that was released yesterday about 16 Star. I'm going to talk about how it was made, the process behind it, how I did research, how that was turned into a script, and then how that script turned into a video. I'm guessing that's going to take like, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes. Then after that, we're just going to go ahead and rewatch the video yesterday. I'm going to give some commentary over it, talk about any little insights, little anecdotes, because there was a lot of stuff that went on during production. And finally, after that, we're just going to go ahead and do like a Q&A, whatever questions you guys have. So you can ask questions in chat, but I'm probably not going to answer them till the end. So there you go. Will you save the VOD though? I'll answer that now. Yes, this VOD will be saved. All right, so welcome in everyone. This right here, hopefully it is like nicely, oh, it's not centered. There you go. This document right here, this is the research document for the video. And essentially the first thing that I do for research for every single video that I create is I make a timeline of every single world record that I could find. So for 16 Star, luckily I had a pretty big head start on that because there's this guy, Frosty Zacko, I'm not really sure how you say it, but he's one of the guys that helped me out with research. And he's essentially a Mario 64 historian. So he had already made this huge Google sheet that documented the record timeline for 16 Star, 1 Star, 0 Star, 70, and 120. So I was able to pretty much just take what he had and make it into my own pretty big list of records from start to finish. So yeah, shoutouts to him because he helped so much put this together. You can see the earliest runs for 16 Star dated back to 2004. I didn't really talk about any of these guys in the video, any of these runs, because they just, you have to pick a starting point. Every video you have to pick the run to start with. Sometimes it's the earliest run you can find, but sometimes it's worth just skipping over the really early ones and talking about ones that had more, fully fleshed out strategies. So skipped over all these guys. Most of them didn't have video. First one we did here was Illudude. And you're going to see all of the videos that have like a hyperlink, all the ones with blue text, those were videos that actually have, or those were times that actually have videos. All the ones without, no videos. So we actually did okay really early on here. A lot of these had videos, and then it gets a little more sparse. I mean, there's this big gap from 05 to 09 where there were no videos of legitimate 16 Star records. So yeah, this was a tough video to make, man. But anyway, so that's the first thing I do is I make a huge list of all the records. Most of these early ones don't have video, and then kind of as we go on, we finally get more and more. I have to talk about this video right here. This is the most recent record that doesn't have a video. It's from Dowski. It's a 1516. I don't know if I have any like insiders in the Mario 64 community here, but I can't figure out why this video doesn't exist anymore, because he streamed it live and he uploaded it to YouTube as far as I know, and I just cannot find them anymore. Like, as far as I know, I've seen like a few seconds of footage from this run just in like a video from a different YouTuber, but I mean there is straight up like no video of this run anywhere else. There's like no clips of it, nothing. And I don't really understand why, but a lot of people when I was streaming yesterday, premiering the video, asked, oh man, you skipped over Dowski's first 1516, like why'd you do that? Well, A, there was no video of it. I mean, I didn't really have much to say about it. B, it lasted for one day, then it was beaten by 8 seconds. And C, I did mention it later when I talked about Dowski. I just didn't go into detail about it because of, points A and B. So yeah, this is a really weird one. know what to say about it, but it's gone. So hopefully we could find it one day. I don't know. This was me trying to work out a timeline of when fake world records were on top of the leaderboard. And as you can see, from 2005 to 2014, it was a very long time. So, like, yeah, 80% of the time back then, there was a fake run on top of the leaderboard. And these are my notes for the runs. This is the first run by Ilu Dude from November 2004. These are all the notes I had. I just essentially wrote down what I want to talk about, what I want to mention. I don't end up talking about literally everything. Sometimes I put in little notes for which songs I want to use. This is Carrier Wave by Home. So yeah, talked about everything I could do. And then right here, move on to the next run, Kirby Carter, just a few little things for him. And then I would get these huge gaps where it's like, I don't know what to say. Some of these early runs from Japan, they had video, but it was... I was actually originally going to talk about this one from Shigeru, this 1809, but the video was one of those videos that looks like it's 2 FPS, maybe 50p. I mean, it's pretty bad. Still pretty bad frame rate, but more viewable. It really wasn't viewable. It was pretty bad. So anyway, you can get the gist of what I was doing here, and then as the runs would go down, what I would do was I would compare where they lost and gained time for every single split. HMC, this run gained a lot of time. They lost some back at the very end. And as you'll see, I'll do that for every single run that I'm going to talk about. I would mark, where did they gain time? Where did they lose time? What caused it? And then I would talk about it in the video based on that. This guy, I actually didn't mention that he had the record for one day either, so sorry, Tsukishima Hato. I guess he was the guy that came up with the Tsukishima cycle. But yeah, sorry. It's how it goes sometimes. This was the Akira moment. I'll talk about that a bit later, but I'm just showing you guys right now, this is essentially what I have to do for all the runs. Cannonless setup introduced here. Get into Zaya. Akira again. Ouija. Yeah, Ouija's video feed was kind of not great at times, so I had to kind of put in clearer footage. Here again, my notes on Dowski. It's just gone. It turns out I think it was highlighted and put on YouTube. It's just not there anymore. And there you go, all the way down to the bottom. And then there you go. So that's my history document. So one thing that's really important that I don't think people realize is it's probably the hardest thing that I do. And I think it's the thing that probably takes the most amount of video making skill, is you have to find the storylines out of all these runs. If you just went run by run, listed what happened in each one, what the improvements were for every single run, then you just went down the list, that's not going to make for an interesting video. It might make for a good video if you're a really big Mario 64 speedrunning fan, but, outside of that, it's, there's not much there. So I had to figure out, what storylines are there going to be? What am I going to talk about? How am I going to frame this to make it interesting? You can sometimes see little notes like right here. It's like, okay, this part of the timeline, it's just Akira and Zaya. So I could probably just montage this, talk a little bit about the strategies and call that good. Back here, there were so many runs from back then, from here through, I guess here, where video runs were few and far between. And I was really struggling to figure out what to talk about, so I had to figure out, okay, pretty much everything before here, here to here, this is all bad quality video or just non-existent stuff, so I could probably just skip to the 18, talk about how Taka and Shigeru lowered it, and then move on from there. And then at some point, this run right here happens, and I'm sure you guys know about the Matt Turk fake out that I had. I'll talk about that a little more when I'm actually going over the video and talking about it, but basically that fake out, I've been wanting to do that for a few videos now, and I was looking for the right spot to do it. I never pulled the trigger, and then finally this time I was like, okay, I want to do it in this video. I just need to find the right run. I didn't want to do it like too early because this just kind of seemed like too, I don't know, believable. It wouldn't be as shocking. But then if I did it too late, it would be like, okay, obviously Matt Turk didn't get like the first sub 15. So I think Akira was the good spot to do it. Also because I could frame it like he had never gotten a record before. And so anyway, there you go. But once you have this big document like I have, which is 15 pages long, sometimes the documents aren't quite this long. Sometimes they're even a little longer, depends on the video. But every video I make goes through this process. The next step is turning it into a script. And ultimately, let's see, yeah, it's centered on the screen and everything. I ended up making a 14-page script for this video. Well, the script itself is a little lower. At the end here, I'll get to this in a minute. But basically what you have to do is you have to take all of this, take all your notes, and turn it into a script. And that's also pretty hard to do. That's something that you can't take for granted. Like, I can never take for granted, like, oh yeah, it's going to be easy. Like, every time I have to work hard on that. But yeah, it's a big process. You can see at the top here, there's some notes. What I do for each video is I upload an unlisted video to YouTube about every 10 minutes that I edit, and I send it to a few people that are helping me with research. And then based on that, like any corrections that they have, I add it into this here at the top. And then when I'm like done with the whole video, I go back and change them and then cross them out. So like right here, after I finished the first part of the video, which is I think like 7 minutes long, I had accidentally put that Illudude's run was from October 2004 instead of November, and I had to change that, so I put it right up here and changed it when I was done with everything else. And there's actually a point in the video, I got a little lazy and just put November on top of October, but I don't think anybody's noticed it yet, but I'll show it off when I'm doing the video. Yeah, other mistakes I made. When I first talked about, you guys know how OBLJ, you do it because you could skip some of the slower stars in Womp's Fortress by doing it. As an example of a slow star, I initially gave climbing to the top of the fortress, but then I think Gothic Logic pointed out that defeating Womp with 3 ground pounds was actually a lot slower, so I'll talk about that one instead. So you get the idea, just all different things like that, and it turns into this enormous script. Sometimes I bold things that I like need to re-record in the moment. I'm just like making little notes. But yeah, this is how it goes. This takes a long time to write, but I kind of write it as I go. Like I'll write a page and then edit it and then go back, write another page. And yeah, that's essentially it. So there you go. Then we get to the bottom here. I sometimes make little notes as I go along. You know, I'll be thinking about how do I want to edit this, and then I'll put notes at the bottom like, okay, you should act like Ouija's going to get the record back and then cut him off by missing the star. That's something I did at the very end of the video, so that's why these notes are still here. Usually I delete them. Here, I saw a couple other people mentioning that I didn't go over many like runs that didn't end up being the record. I always look for those when I'm making videos. I always look for close calls that just missed it at the end. And I really struggled to find them for this video because really Ouija and Aki were the only 2 people that saved them. Like Dowski deletes everything, so there was nothing to work with there. Kano, I couldn't really find any misses. Slippery Nip, same thing. He only really saves like the successful runs, so I couldn't really like go over any misses. Ouija, I ended up going over 1458. I think I covered a couple, maybe one of these runs that died to the BLJs. I talked about one of these runs that messed up the submarine. I didn't talk about this one. This was a really good pace he had where he accidentally saved and quit to the menu, but oh well. I think I did Project Chewy, but then I looked for a video of it and I like couldn't find it. So I found like his splits, but not the video. And then yeah, I keep notes here of every single video that I've used, and I give credit to them in the description. So he had 1440x paces that he saved. I mean, all the ones I was able to find these. Like, this is what I saw. Maybe that, I don't know. Maybe I missed them somehow. But yeah, like this one is probably 1440X pace that died at the BLJs. Yeah, like here is a sub 10 HMC. But it was also like, you have to keep in mind too, like this run, it's very awkward timing to put something like this in. Because this happened like between his 1458 and Slippery Nip's recent record. And I wanted it to just go from, okay, Ouija got his like near miss to, all right, here's Slippery Nip finally getting it. And it's tough to like go from, okay, here's Ouija barely missing it, and then 8 days later, another run that ended up missing it sooner, so it's not quite as interesting, and then here's Slippery Nip getting it. It's just, it doesn't flow quite right. So, yeah, it's tough. But you get the idea. And then I tried to put like a timeline of when there were successful runs and which ones missed. So, anyway. There you guys go. A little behind the scenes look at how these videos are made. So, next step. Real quick, I need to make another window capture, so give me 1 second. That's that. Select region. I am a professional streamer. That doesn't look right. What does this look like? Ah, god damn it, man. I'm trying to do a window capture of VLC Media Player and it's not working. Here, give me 1 second, hang on. Here, I'll put on resonance. All right, I think properties, select region, we're almost there. I should have kept the music on, oh well. I used to stream more often, but now it's like once every 3 months, so I've forgotten how to properly do stuff. There we go. Do you guys want chat on screen for this? I don't know if it's like important or not, but I don't know. I guess I'll put it back on later when I'm like doing the Q&A. So, next step, audio balancing levels. I want my microphone's voice to be louder than the video, but I also want to be able to hear the video. So, I am going to talk over the video, and I want you guys to tell me how the audio balancing is, if I should make it louder, quieter, what the deal is. Talk, 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 talk. Let me put my voice over my voice. See if this balances well. It sounds good, it's fine, a little louder.
He got the first two by
what should be louder, the voice or my microphone or the video?
And then climbing to the top of the fortress.
Make myself louder. Okay, well I can make the video quieter. How about that?
Opened the cannon, used it to blast away the wall, and shot
is this better?
the star to collect it. A slow process.
This is about. This should be quite a bit louder. Make video louder. Ah, crap. Damn it, dude. Okay, how's this? Is this better?
The remaining two
what a good level is that? Is that good?
Despite a bit of slow
good. Okay. Cool.
Illudude
All
was
right,
then
let's go to the start. So, first off, this video, one thing that kind of scared me away from doing Mario 64 in the past. Well, first off, I've made Mario 64 videos many years ago. I haven't made one in about 4 years, but I made one back in 2017 about 120 star, which was a completely horrible video. Don't even recommend watching that. And then I made one on the history of the any percent route, like how I went from 50 to 31 to 16 to 1 to 0, which kind of sounds like a cool concept, but I also just didn't go into nearly enough detail. So what scared me away from doing Mario 64 for a long time was I thought it would have to be like a two-part video or like an hour and a half long or something, because there was just so much to talk about. So when I started this project, I actually was making a 120 star video, and I realized I either need to like break this into two parts or I need to do something. So eventually I ended up with the kind of middle ground of switching it to 16 star because it still had a really good history, and as I was making it I realized this is probably going to be like at least as good as a 120 star video would be, and I could probably do it under an hour. So ended up working out pretty well. 51 minutes long is like about normal for me, so let's go ahead and start it. I think I've used We're Finally Landing as the starting song in about 10 videos now. People think it's like more than that, but I didn't use it for a really long time. It's only like relatively recently I started.
Super Mario 64 16 star. It's the most popular.
Oh, whenever
category
you
and
see
most
like
popular
B-roll
speed game of
footage,
all time.
okay, I can like
Holding a
hear
record
it too
in
loudly
is
in
one
my
of
own
gaming's
headphones. I'm just
toughest
gonna put it there.
Ridiculous
But
glitches,
whenever you see
extreme
like B-roll footage like this,
both
just of a
require
random run,
world record.
this is from Zaya's 1529.
Just the
I always
level
have to identify a run
himself
at the very start of these videos to like
Simulating
get
record
B-roll
level
footage of,
competition,
and
it's hard to
this
hold
was like a nice, clear, clean run.
But
So
let's take a look at those game runs and see how they did it. This
there you go.
is the history of the 16-star world record.
In case anyone's wondering, that font is called Press Start 2P. Shoutouts to all these people. Ted admittedly didn't do that much, but Frosty Zacco and Gothic Logic really big helps. That shot of the leaderboard, it was just like, okay, cool, I know GTAs, I know Bismuth, let's just put them in the video, cool.
Stars you can collect.
I didn't even
There are
realize
speedrun
people would like
categories that
notice.
won't collect all of them. However, the developers only required you to collect 70 of them to beat the game. That's how many you needed to make it up the endless staircase and into the final stage. For years, 70 stars was the minimum needed to beat Super Mario 64. But
Yeah, it's from
years
D
after
whatever,
the game
that 70-star
release,
footage.
that number suddenly dropped to 50. Eventually, it was lowered again, this time to 31. And in 2004,
So yeah, not too much to say about like the very start of the video here. This is just like
Super Mario 64
explaining what the category is. I wanted to make sure this didn't drag on too long, like I didn't have a super long explanation.
The first 16 stars
Because that's one thing you really want to be careful with these videos, is you don't want to lose people like right at the start from like a really boring explanation. Kind of just want to get into the runs. So
but the dust settled a bit when a runner
as you can
named
see,
Illudude set
I
a
moved
new
quickly at
record.
the start, and we're getting right into the first run.
2004, he beat the game with 16 stars in 21 minutes and 56 seconds. And here's how he did it.
So this originally said October 2004. You saw that in my corrections, but
First
we
goal
fixed
of
it.
16-star speedrun is to collect 8 stars, which unlocks the first Bowser level, Bowser in the Dark World. He got the first star by going.
This is really pretty good video quality for 2004.
Shane Chomp's pole 3 times.
I mean,
unlocking the star.
it's pretty good. Like,
one of the fastest ways to move in Super Mario 64 is the long jump. So Illudude chained these together over and over whenever he could. Next, he went into Whomp's Fortress to collect 5 more stars. He got the first 2 by going to the top of the stage, defeating Whomp and then climbing to the top.
This is like the same route that I do when I do 16 star. Well, the start of this route is not part of it.
Then opened the cannon, used it to blast away the wall.
The star is
and
so
shot
slow.
himself into the star
If you
and
do
collected it.
blast away the wall without doing
Process
cannonless,
took
it's
around
so
half a
slow.
minute.
Yeah, you lose half a
Now
minute,
find
like
it
I said
out
there.
to fall into the cage and collect another star. That put his total at 6 stars. The remaining 2 came from sliding down Peach's
Definitely
legs
don't do
towards
these
the
anymore.
stars, despite a bit of slow movement along the way.
Yeah.
Illudude was then able to enter Bowser in the Dark World, where he used long jumps all over to move through the stage. It took 2 throws to hit Bowser with a bomb, but eventually he got the job done. Now that he could go into the basement, Illudude's next goal was to collect 7 more.
So yeah, this part of every
stars
video,
for the rabbit to appear.
essentially every video of mine, it starts in the same way, where it's like, here's what the category is, and here's the first run.
And the other
And
slowly waiting on top of a pillar.
again, it's the type of thing where it's like, I need to make sure I'm talking about enough tricks and talking about enough stuff to not just immediately lose viewers.
Collected 8 red coins. His
So
movement
it's
wasn't
a
ideal,
tough balance to strike between like, here's a big introduction to the category and here's a bunch of interesting stuff, because you can't just like gloss over either of
The
them.
last 3 stars came from collecting the Toad Star, then heading into Hazy Maze Cave, getting the Emergency Exit Star, and the Watch for Rolling Rock Star. Now, Illudude had 15 stars, which spawned Mips the Rabbit. Normally, you can just
You'll see
grab
in a
the single
second
star,
where the
but
November
Illudude
over
was
October is
confused
coming
with
up
a
right
trick
here.
discovered by Dom Dunk a few months prior. This was the key to beating the game with 16
I really
stars.
like this song from Prism
The
Age.
first step is getting Mips through this door.
Alright,
By
so
putting
check this
them
out,
right
guys.
in front of it, then going through the door, you can quickly jump back and stand in.
Right here, you're not, I guess I have to play it for you to see it, but you're gonna see the Illudude November 2004 is on top of Illudude October 2004, and you can see it like just to the right of the E in Illudude,
Inside the
right
door.
there. See that?
From there, you can pick up Mips
And it goes away.
turn around, and place them on the other
And
side.
essentially, the reason that happened was in the video when I was just screenshotting the screen when I wanted it to freeze, and then like putting that in as an image. And I had already made a screenshot of it saying Illudude October 2004, and it was yesterday morning when I was like making this correction, and I was like, okay, I could go redo the screenshot for that section, which will take a bit of time because I have to get the text to line up perfectly and then do a few other things to get it to look right, or I could just maybe put it on top of it and see how it looks. And in the end, it's like, I don't think anybody has noticed it before right now,
Jump
right?
back
Like,
and stand
you can
inside.
barely tell.
From there, you can pick up Mips,
So,
turn
I think we're
around,
good to go.
and place them on the other side. Then you want to take Mips to this door, which you
I think I
normally
might have done
need
the same
30
thing here.
stars
I
to
can't,
pass
I think
through.
it's going to pause
By
again.
placing him in front of it, you can jump between Mips and the door to get pushed
Maybe not.
through it, skipping the 30-star requirement. The Mips clips could be difficult to perform, but if done properly, they would save many.
Yeah,
minutes
these old
of
versions of the
Super
Mips
Mario
clips are pretty
64
funny.
speedrun. After this, Illudude
They're
went into Dive
very
Fire Docks,
worse
collected
than the
some
ones that we
stars
have
from
now.
Bowser in the Fire Sea, and went through it as fast as he could. Once again, it took him 2 throws to defeat Bowser, but he now had the second key. It was time to head upstairs, where he was about
Even
to
back
perform
then, they did that.
Mario's
It's so
iconic
funny,
trick.
man. Like, this barely saves any time, and they were still doing it back then, and he probably did it so slowly,
He
he
was
like
about
barely
to
gained
perform
time.
Probably the most iconic trick in Super Mario 64 speedrunning.
This section right here, I already had the song picked out for the BLJ.
This
I knew
trick was
going into it I wanted to
popularized in
use
the
this one
November
from home.
2000 edition
I can't even remember
of
the name of
Nintendo
it,
Power
but
Magazine. But it's quite
it has a
likely that
really,
what you knew about it as
I don't know how
early
to
as
put it, the downbeat of the song is really
Since
hype
that
and
year,
exciting.
They released an updated version of Super Mario 64 in Japan
You'll see when we
that
get there.
made it impossible. When you do a long jump but hold the stick backwards, the game gives Mario a slight boost of speed. It normally snaps back to normal quickly after, but if you land fast enough, like on stairs, it's preserved so you can do another backwards long jump. By jumping over and over, it's possible to catch Mario in a loop where his speed continuously builds up. He can keep
See,
going
you'll notice here I'm not
faster
actually showing footage of the BLJ happening
faster.
because I want to
It's
save it for the
possible to
downbeat
go
that's about to happen in a
170 all
minute.
on one frame
So I'm
and the
showing
other
like
side
parts
on
of
the
it,
next.
but
And
not the
that
whole
means
thing.
if you match
So like right here, it
correctly,
cuts off right
you
before
can
he
do a backwards
catches.
long jump and fly
Now,
into
this is the
corners.
downbeat. Like, I knew this would be an impactful section if I put it like this, so I like set it up so that it would work out.
Illudude performed this on both the
And it's only like
full
10
Star
seconds of
Tour
the video.
and
It's really not an
the
important
staircase.
part, but I knew going into it I
Bypassing
wanted to make it like that,
requirements
so
for 50 and 70 stars,
little things like that that you gotta
And
always look for.
It was a matter of making it through Bowser in the sky and hitting Bowser with 3 bombs at the end. It took us 6
Toasty in the
runs,
chat
but
there
it was enough to
is
finish on
asking, don't you
time
get copyright
with
claimed by using music
31.56.
from home? You do
Home
not.
record
He does
by
not
significant
copyright claim people. He makes
This
it
run
free to
was
use,
pretty good for 2004,
which is awesome.
given how new the MIPS clips and BLJs were. However, as noted before, the movement left much to be desired, and some tricks took several tries.
These
And about
ultra safe
6
throws.
months
They're
later,
like the blindfolded
a player
throws.
named Kirby Carter would lower it by about a minute. He definitely did clean up the movement a bit, but was still mostly using long jumps. He didn't miss as many throws on Bowser, and was able
Kirby
to get
Carter's
the
video,
kill
do you see the VHS tape? It keeps flickering. Here, I'll go back and show you. See, like right here, there's like flicker on the bottom.
He didn't miss as many throws on
That would
Bowser,
happen like
but
every
he
5 seconds of his video.
quickly.
And I
However,
kind of wanted
the
to edit
biggest
around it.
revolution introduced in this
So,
mode was the new, more
yeah.
reliable version of the MIPS clips.
This is me playing right here. This is my 16-star PB playing MIPS. My 22-6. This isn't. This is him. But that first one, that was me. Because, and the reason, this is me and not Kirby Carter, because in his video, if you go look at it, like type in Kirby Carter 2046 and you go to his first MIPS clip, there's so much flickering and static on the screen. I like didn't even want to show it. So I was like, okay, I could just use mine. And obviously this is someone performing it very slowly, but, you know.
Mario gets pushed forward and becomes stuck inside the door. The rest of the trick can be completed as before.
Look how beautiful, man.
For the second
Such
clip,
good gameplay.
it's the same
This is back to
process
him.
as the first clip, but instead of getting stuck in the door, Mario gets pushed through all the way to the other side. These clips were both faster and more consistent than before, becoming the clear methods to use. So, going into mid-2005, Kirby Carter's 2046 was on top. A solid record, with video proof that, from 2005, wasn't always a given. The record timeline
A lot better than the
is pretty
video quality from
straightforward.
2009, that's for sure.
It followed a pattern seen by most early speedruns from the mid-2000s. Early runs reported on VHS with primitive strategies, followed by
So,
improvements in
this next part that you're about to see, this is another interesting editing decision because it honestly kind of sucks when you have 5 years of the timeline that are kind of ruined by a lack of videos, a ton of cheated runs, and video quality that's complete garbage. Like, that could be a big problem when you're making a speedrunning history video, but instead, I struggled to find a way to frame this for a long time, but instead I decided, like, okay, this is a really weird era of speedrunning. This is a really strange era of Mario 64. We're just going to work with what we have.
After this point, the 16-star history takes a bit of a turn.
So I put Frozen Star by Kevin MacLeod in there.
For the next several years, there would be 2 major caveats in the timeline. First, cheated or faked runs would be illegitimately on top of the leaderboard for more than 80%
It's
of
me
the
making a
next
little
game.
graphic in
For
like
most games,
Google Slides or
cheated
something.
runs do occasionally happen, but rarely does it affect the record timeline as substantially as it did for 16-star.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
just one other thing, real quick. Like, I don't talk about the people that cheated at all, and there's like 2 reasons. The first one is like the actual big one, which is just I just don't even want to bring attention to their runs. Like, they had attention to them back in the day, but at this point, you know, let's give attention to the runs that were actually legit from back then and not focus on these. The other reason is just people on the internet can just dogpile on people, and obviously people who cheat, you know, like, they deserve it to an extent, but like 10 years later, 15 years later, it's like I don't need to be sending a whole big pack of people on to, you know, harass these people. So I just sidestep right around it. I think it works best for this sort of stuff.
Players will be included in this video
It's not the right move from the drama
Although
standpoint,
most
but
runs
that's
have
okay.
video proof when performed, records before 2013 have very little video surviving today, and some of the surviving
This is
stuff
so funny,
is
dude.
very low quality.
Like, I would literally
Many
go on
runs were
Nico and
live
it'd be like,
streamed
oh
at the
cool,
time,
Shigeru's
but the videos weren't
1755
saved.
has a video, let's
There
take a
were
look at
also
it.
many emulators streamed at the
And then it
time
would look like
alone.
this, and it's like,
Many runs were live streamed
alright.
at the time, but the videos weren't saved. There were also many
This is me
emulator
playing
runs
again.
at this time.
It's Wii Virtual
But since
Console,
they
non-emulator,
reduce lag
but
and aren't kept on the same leaderboard as console runs, they won't be included in this video. It's a bit tricky to analyze
Such
runs from
bad
this
gameplay.
period, but we'll work with what we can. After Kirby Carter's 2046,
that's another thing I struggle with is foreign names. I mean, I'm not great at pronunciation, so I tried my best here, but it didn't sound great.
a player named Le Coureur 103 would rapidly lower the
Just
record
translates
down
to the runner,
1908 over the course
but-
of 2005. He posted his times on the Speed Demos Archive forum, but videos for these runs seem to have never made it online. So, despite lowering the record by a minute and a half, there's not much to analyze.
Yeah, his runs were interesting. He would like post every record he got. Basically, that guy Le Coureur 103, he and Holy Moly were going back and forth on GameFAQs and Speed Demos Archive posting their records. And I think Holy Moly's, he would sometimes provide video for them, and Le Coureur like never would, but like he was probably legit. He wasn't claiming anything ridiculous.
Through August 2009, 4 players settled. Sho, Shigeru, Cass, and Taka.
I think Cass
Most
is
of
actually
these runs
Cass.
don't have
That's okay.
surviving video, and the ones that do were live streamed to
Again,
the
like-
2009 levels of quality. So instead, we'll skip to
So tough.
December 2009, when we finally get a run with a clean video feed from Taka. Remember, Kirby Carter had gotten a 20-minute run in 2005, and there were allegedly 19-minute runs later that
And
year.
this was something I struggled with again. It's like there's this huge gap in the timeline. Like, what do I do? Do I go look at these bad quality runs and talk about the tricks they added in? Because like one of them added in canonless, one of them added in like a later run added in the Lakitu skip. The bomb clip kind of evolved over time, but I decided to just skip straight to this run and then emphasize the fact
17 minutes.
that it was 3 minutes faster than any other run,
To
and
put
that
it
was like the
bluntly,
point of emphasis.
This record was on another level.
It's a good song. It's a classic one.
The amount of tricks, the level of optimization, everything about Taka's run was miles ahead of runs from years prior. Truth be told, there had been many new strategies slowly implemented in runs over
Yeah.
the years, but they all came together in Taka's record. And they started literally right when the game begins. Normally, once you reach the middle of the bridge, Lakitu
Microphone
swamps
kind
you
of
for the
peaked
cutscene.
there, but
By jumping
Wasn't
on the
that bad.
very edge of the bridge railing, Taka was able to skip the trigger for the cutscene and save about 7 seconds. Once he went inside, however, the run
yeah, the
really
music
started
list
to
for the
take off.
videos in the
This
description.
was thanks in part
Every
to
single
a
video has it
handful
in the
of making
description.
tricks. Kirby Carter's run from 2005 was
The
good,
wall bonk.
but
Oh no, that
Taka
was him
had
going
some
straight in.
tricks up his sleeve that changed everything. Trick number 1. In Bob-omb Battlefield,
So this
Taka
version of the bomb
performed
clip's
the
pretty
bomb
interesting.
flip. By activating the bomb and getting pushed by it toward the gate, you can precisely jump before it explodes.
It's the first version of
and
it.
push through the gate to collect the star. This saves close to 10 seconds over the standard method. Taka then went to Womp's Fortress and performed trick number 2, a legendary one known as Cannonless. The normal process for getting the blast away the wall star is slow, and involves opening the cannon, jumping in it, shooting at the wall, and landing to collect the star. However, this can all be skipped by performing Cannonless, where you just run at the wall in the perfect spot and collect the star without blasting away the wall.
I tried really hard to
One
emphasize
mistake for reusing the
how
cannon,
much Cannonless killed runs, because it was
the issue is the precision
awful
involved.
back then.
You need to hit the exact right spot in the wall for this to work.
And I'm still not sure if I
so that
emphasized it
Mario
enough,
grabs the
but
ledge the star is on top of, and his hitbox moves up to intersect with the star. Even taking time to set up the trick didn't help very much. The most skilled players struggled to hit the trick
well,
more than
the
about
thing
20%
is,
of the time.
yeah, 20% of the time you'd
16
hit it,
star runs
but then
were
you usually have two
transformed
chances because you
in
do the
a
side
race.
flip star. So that's
You
why
had
I
a couple
said you
shots to get it,
make it
and if
past
you
like a third of the
failed,
time.
you'd have to reset. So now, most runs wouldn't make it past the 2.5-minute mark. Thankfully, Taka hit cannonless first try, just so he could go and perform trick number 3 immediately after. By triple jumping and wall kicking off the cage perfectly, you could fall in it without having to use the owl.
This is such a cool trick. I use this for B-roll shots like all the time.
Staple of 16-star runs as well.
Owlus just looks like
Another
the coolest
big
trick ever.
upgrade for Taka was his movements. Older runs had just used long jumps, but Taka carefully selected his moves to optimize the speed of each section. Diving was used all over for short speed boosts, while long jumps still had their place for longer straight sections. This upgraded movement could particularly be seen in Bowser in the Dark World.
Look at that movement, man. That's so much better than the early runs.
To collect 8 red coins for an additional star. The back half was clean too. Fast MIPS clips and BLJs helped save some additional
I remember
time.
Peach just got it.
However,
Got
the
cannonless
run
at
definitely wasn't
AGDQ
without
for his
flaws.
one-handed run.
He had some slip-ups.
That's ridiculous.
Like here in Lethal Lava Land, and he missed the throw on Bowser at the very end. But thanks to the upgrades in movement, strategies, and overall execution, Taka's run was more than 3 minutes faster than the early records. Super Mario 64 speedruns were about to enter.
See, more B-roll shot of
Gone were
Owlus.
the days of infrequent records with suboptimal strategies. Over the next year and a half, the record would be broken nearly a dozen times. Most of the videos for these records didn't survive, but the few we do have show gameplay far ahead of its time. The two dominant record holders for this era were Taka and Shigeru. They took turns lowering the record into the low.
I do a lot of screenshots in my Google documents because I can't think of any other way to show runs being lowered.
But when Taka took the record back with a 1652, he had a trick up his sleeve. LBLJ. LBLJ stands for Lobby Back.
This is a cool visual trick too. It's a really good one for a video like this.
An October 2006 video where Mr. Robert Z jumped up from below and grabbed an exposed ledge. He theorized that you could then possibly do a backwards long jump. And it turns out he was right. A tool-assisted runner named Mijitsu showed it off in a TAS a month later, and it was eventually adopted by runners. By backwards long jumping into the basement ceiling, which extends upwards, you can land and repeatedly jump to go.
I didn't quite understand the explanation of this trick that I got. I talked to Ted about it, and I still don't really understand exactly how it works, but essentially the ceiling extends upwards and you can backwards long jump into it. That's about all I got.
Speed still built up. Then you rotate the camera precisely to steer Mario's speed toward the 8-star door. If done properly, Mario will shoot through it and land next to the entrance for Bowser in the Dark World. This ultimately saves time because many of the 8 stars needed to open the door are slow, like ground-pounding Womp 3 times. By ignoring
See,
the
do you guys remember I was talking about in my Google document how I said originally there you had to, it was slow because you had to climb to the top of the fortress. I don't know if you could tell here, but I re-recorded this one line specifically, so you might be able to hear like a little change in the microphone. I don't know.
This ultimately
Let me see.
land next to the entrance for Bowser in the Dark World. This ultimately saves time because many of the 8 stars needed to open the door are slow, like ground-pounding.
Yeah, you can't really tell. I edited that one pretty cleanly, thankfully. But there's times in the video where I have to go re-record a line or change it, and you like can tell pretty easily that it's a different
Players
take.
could now just get the key right away, collect 3 fast stars in Womp's Fortress, and head straight to the basement. It saved half a minute overall. Armed with LBLJ, Shigeru would continue to grind 16-star in 2010 and 2011. He would pull away from Taka. lowering the record deeper into the 16s,
All right.
while optimizing his movement.
Now,
And
here it
tricks along the
comes.
way. It was starting to feel inevitable that somebody would break the 16-minute barrier.
So, like I said before, I had been wanting to make a Matt Turk fake out joke for a few months now, in a couple videos, and just in general, I wanted to add some more humor into these videos because, like, speedrunning, like, the records are serious, but it's a lighthearted subject. Like, let's be real. So I really tried to do that a bit more in this video, and I had to find the right spot to put it in. And ultimately, I think this was the right one. It wasn't too early. It wasn't too late in the video. It was kind of right in the middle. And the only problem now is I can never do this joke again because no one's going to fall for it. There's one variation I think I can put on it, but
as it turns out, the first person to get a sub 16 wouldn't be Shigeru. It wouldn't be Taka either. In fact, it wasn't anyone who had set a 16-star record before.
I'll say this. I re-recorded, well, I'll play it out, but
in August 2011,
I re-recorded these next couple lines probably 5 or 6 times each to try to get it right.
and his name was Matt Turk. Nah, I'm just kidding. It was Akira. Akira.
Yeah, I re-recorded those 2 lines over and over to get them to sound like exactly how I wanted to. So ultimately worked out pretty well, but on we go.
It was a culmination of strategies that had been slowly developed over the years. It started with...
So did you guys actually, like, people actually thought Matt Turk got the sub 16 in Mario 64? Like, type yes if you fell for it, and no if you did not. I'm kind of curious. I know people watching the VOD might not be able to see, but it's like, it looks like at least 80% of the chat is saying yes. That's pretty funny, man. That was the goal.
He got it very cleanly, quickly rotating the camera to drop Mario in Bowser in the Dark World. After collecting 8 red coins in the key, he got cannonless first try.
It's so funny, man, because Matt Turk, he was just this guy in the Punch-Out community. He was a legend in our community, but no one else knew about him. Like, probably like 50 people total had heard of Matt Turk before. Until I made the quest to beat Matt Turk, and now it's like millions of people. It's so weird. Like, he was this legend that he is to everyone. That's who he was to us, but like no one else for a long time.
Then bounced off a snippet to get the bird star early. In Hazy Maze Cave, he triple jumped to get into the dinosaur room quickly, then grabbed the emergency exit and rolling rock stars. The MIPS clips were about perfect, and in Dire
Hey, I was directly told it was a snippet of GTM. I think at least. I don't know. Pretty sure I was.
Making a fast cycle. Both the backwards long jumps were instantaneous, and he nailed every Bowser throw to wrap up a sub 16-minute run. This seemed like it would be the
What's interesting is, like, if you know the speedrun pretty well, you can tell, like, the 1554 was way better than the 1718, but even if it, for more than, like, a minute difference, it's like, I don't know, Taka's 1718 was really, really good.
To take it lower into the 15s. About 6 months later, Batora would grab the record for the first time with a 15.
Here's Batora, 120 star legend.
Losing a bit of time to bad movement early, but saving time at the end with a cleaner Bowser in the sky. Not to be outdone, Akira would beat him by a full 8 seconds in April 2013, thanks to a fast LBLJ at the start and tearing through the other BLJs. This 1544 would then stand on top of the leaderboard for the next 2 years. That's an incredibly long time for a category as competitive as 16-star. There were a few reasons this happened, but one really big reason is a trick about 3 minutes into the run. I'm talking, of course, about cannonless.
Here I am again, emphasizing cannonless, trying to make it a big deal.
Runs would die to the same trick
That's why I said 2/3, because you'd
There
have two
was no
tries
way
at it.
around it. You either got cannonless or you reset. For years, cannonless had been ending record runs before they could really begin. And it helped lead to stretches like this, where no world records were set for many months. If someone could just figure out a way to set it up consistently, to grab the star every time, it would open up so many new doors in 16 star.
Get it, guys? It's a visual
Right.
joke, because he's
It would
going
open up
through a closed
so
door.
many new doors in 16 star. And in October 2014,
Pretty darn clever.
that's exactly what Sockfolder did.
Sockfolder has been in so many of my videos.
He's found revolutionary setups for tricks in Ocarina of Time, Luigi's Mansion, even the original Super Mario.
And I didn't even realize how many different games this guy had done until I went to his Twitch and looked. He's found stuff in like 20 different games. I had no idea.
Usually able to do so. This time, it was a way to solve cannonless. On October 8th, 2014, he came out with this complicated setup. You would grab the ledge, pull yourself
This
up,
initial setup so
punch
funny.
twice,
Look at this thing.
reset the camera, walk straight down, adjust the camera, pull yourself up, backflip, punch, walk straight down again, reset the camera again, then pull yourself up and walk down.
And what's really funny too is if you watch Sockfolder initially perform this, he doesn't do it quickly because he wants to like show off exactly how you do it. So it takes him like half a minute to do all this. It's like clearly almost as slow as just using the cannon.
If all this was done properly, you would grab the star every single time. The obvious problem with this was how slow it was. Even if done quickly, the setup cost 10 seconds over normal cannonless. That's a significant amount of time in a run like 16 star. But luckily, later the same day, runners DefTech and Gothic Logic would find an improvement.
Shoutouts to Gothic Logic.
You didn't actually have to do the first part of the setup. You could skip straight to jumping on the ledge next to the plank, then perform the setup from there. This meant you'd only lose 6 seconds instead of 10, which was a bit more reasonable, and the whole process still lined you up perfectly to grab the ledge and collect the star. It's no exaggeration to say that cannonless setup was one of the biggest finds in speedrunning history.
Literal game changer. I
Those
mean,
2/3 of runs that died at cannonless.
so many
were
runs,
gone.
guys. So many
That
died
had
there.
a near 100% success rate. This gave the record so
It's time
much
for
more
wavetable. Am I ever gonna make a
Not
video
having
that
to
doesn't
reset
use a
too
wavetable
early,
by Patricia
players
Taxon?
could
I don't
focus
know.
on optimizing the rest of the run.
It's just too good.
So, throughout 2015, a handful of runners were gunning for the record. And what resulted was a mad dash to push the record down as much as possible.
Got it!
Yatta. I'm just sitting here bobbing my head to the music. I guess you guys can't see that, but I'm rocking out. 1529. That was the run that all the B-roll footage is from. Oh my god. Not like that, like not all of it, but like a lot of it is. Bad run. And everyone else congratulating him. Oh yeah, so cool. It was cool. The progression of that triple jump too, like I could just visually see as the runs went on, it got way better and better. Great reaction.
By May 2016, Zaya had taken the record all the way to 1524. A run with a really fast LBLJ, nearly every trick hit throughout the stages, and fast BLJs to boot. The only real noticeable slowdowns were a slow start to
Here,
Phyllis.
I'll answer you. Futt Backerson, or Futt Buckerson. It's a great name. yeah, I mean, you're asking why I didn't mention Kano had 0, 1, and 16 star records at the same time. There's so much stuff I could mention or not mention. I mean, does like is it required for a 16 star video that I mention he has the 0 and 1 star records? Like, it could be an interesting anecdote, I guess, but like I don't think it's the type of thing where it's like necessary to include it, if you know what I mean. Like, I guess it's interesting to know about him, but ultimately it is a 16 star video. So,
And getting bad boulder luck in Hazy Maze Cave. A very impressive record given how many tricks were now in the run. And incredibly, this record too would stand for nearly 2 years.
this was a big one, 1524.
But eventually, a couple of new runners began to get really low times. Their personal bests dropped below 16 minutes, eventually into the 1540 range. And it became evident that both of them were going to make a push for the record. This is Aki and Ouija.
Aki and Ouija. I thought I did the other way
In
around.
November 2017, Aki got on a run that had potential. A great LBLJ, pillarless, cannonless. After getting the second key,
Yeah, I'll be answering questions after. There's a Q&A that I'll do.
potentially get as low as 1518 if he matched his best last split ever. A record by 6 seconds. It was all gonna come down to the BLJs.
So here's like kind of a close call. He barely got that, man. That was close.
They were decent, but not good enough for a record. Aki would finish with a 1528, 4 seconds behind Zaya.
Nice.
But a few months later, he'd have
This is interesting right here. This run right here, it's a 1522. He only recorded the back half of it, and if you've seen the video for it, it's like the gameplay feed is like 3 inches wide. It's tiny on the screen. It's like a very small part of the actual video. There's like big splits, his desktop background, a couple other things, and then his gameplay is like a very small part. So I had to like blow it up, which is why it looks like
4
crap,
seconds ahead of his last run.
and then put it like where it should be next to the splits. Like, you guys could go look up Aki 1522 and see it for yourself. It's very not great looking.
This time, it was good enough. A 1522, beating Zaya by 2 seconds and making Aki
a good reaction.
the new record holder.
Yatta.
But a few days later, it was Ouija's turn.
It's another go-to song of mine. This is Night Running by Chris Dorkson. It's tricky to find the right sections of a video to use for a montage section, because you don't want to be too repetitive, but you also want to show stuff that's interesting. Like, you can't just show, like, walking around in the castle or, like, anything like that. So, a lot of fire sea shots, because those are exciting usually, going fast.
I did it. I did it.
Got way ahead, 9 seconds ahead of his
This
PB.
was the
It's pretty
first
crazy.
ever sub 1520 in 16-star history. One new trick he and Aki were using was in Womp's Fortress, where he used a new setup for cannonless called Texture Setup that had been theorized years prior by Snowman. Instead of using Sockfolder's long setup, Ouija just lined up Mario's feet with a texture in the side of the plank and went for it. It wasn't as
I
consistent.
could have given a more detailed setup here,
It
but
was
like,
faster, and still more
again,
consistent.
ultimately, it's the type of thing where it's like, what are people interested in who are watching this? Like, should I go into exactly which texture you need to line up with, why it works, or just you line up with the texture and do it? It's a little less consistent, but it's pretty good and it's faster.
Then no setup
That's the
at
main
all.
point. So,
Compromises like
It's another
this
one of those
had
trade-offs
be
you have to
made
make.
Now that the remaining time saves were disappearing. He gained some time over Aki with a cleaner lethal lava land, but lost some in Bowser in the Fire Sea. His BLJs were excellent, but he had a slight mistake at the end of Bowser in the Sky. Although the run had some downfalls,
I don't know if that was a
it
mistake
record
or
by
like
5 seconds.
the Goomba was just in a
Not to
bad
be
spot.
outdone,
Like
Aki
I
would
might have
fire
messed up that
back 6
explanation.
months
That's
later
okay.
with a 1560. He messed up the triple jump in Hazy Maze Cave, and his Fire
Yeah,
Sea
it
had
was
a
bad
slow
Goomba.
ending.
Oh well.
He made up the time over Ouija, however, with a faster Mips grab while standing.
He
and
messed up the
cleaning his
RNG.
mistake in Bowser in the Sky. He also threw Bowser a bit faster each time, saving a fraction of a second per throw. At this point, when the record was lowered, it was typically only by a second or maybe a few seconds at most. When records get
Gotta
as
build up
precise
for the
as
big record here.
16 star, where players have done
Because you could
tens
just
of
say he lowered it
thousands
by
of
8
runs,
seconds, or you can be like, yeah, usually they lower it by a second or two. That was normal.
But incredibly,
And then show this.
just 3 weeks after his 15-16, Aki was in position to do just that.
The slow pan. Oh man, a 7.
As always, it came down to the BLJs.
I'll say this too. A lot of the reason I edited it like this was because I felt the video was getting a little repetitive, where it's like, here's a montage of all the good stuff he did on the way to the BLJs. And sometimes I figured it's probably better to just shorten it and go, alright, he's on a really good pace. It went well. Here's how it went.
No pressure.
Like, you saw that with Ouija's run, you saw that with Aki's run. I was just like, here's a montage of all the good stuff they did. And then the BLJs. This time, cut to the chase.
This was it. An unbelievable chance to make history. He just had to make it through Bowser in the Sky, hit all 3 of the throws, and he'd be golden.
It's Cosmos. This is the song by the official Lobst. So sick. This reaction.
マジかよこれマジで俺やったぞやったーこれやべえおいみんなこれやべえぞ
That's the thing too. I was kind of setting this one up. I was like, I forgot to mention it before. I was like, no pressure. I kind of wanted it to seem like he was gonna mess it up or like get bad BLJs or something, because I do that sometimes where I like make it like, oh, it's such a good run, and then it went badly.
1508
but
was the largest cut off the record.
Sometimes you gotta shake it up,
3.5
make it seem like it won't go well, and
a
then
near
you got it.
perfect run from start to finish. The mistakes in Hazy Maze Cave and Fire Sea were cleaned up, and his movement overall was optimized for time saves too. As you'd expect, this run stayed at the top of the leaderboard for a long time. 6 months later, it was still in first.
See,
Second
there's
place
Dowski.
was 8 seconds behind.
There he is. We didn't forget him.
Nobody was getting close to it. To have a realistic chance at beating this, you'd need new strats. The old ones had just about completely been optimized. As good as Aki was, it would
Shoutouts
help
to
if
Amy
James'
Waters for
approach if he
providing
wanted to take
the
record
following
to
song,
the
the following couple of songs.
So, as 2019 came around, he looked into what else he could do to save
Really
time.
good montage song.
First, there was Canonless. Texture setup was great, but it lost a few seconds over just running at the wall and praying. So, Aki decided that he needed to give up the consistency of the setup and go back to normal Canonless.
It's a tough decision.
The same awful, brutal trick that killed 2/3 of all runs years prior. This was obviously a really tough move, but the run was getting so optimized that it was worth it. Second, Aki went for a faster setup for Pillarless. Developed by Tama, you would do the jump dive on the hill instead of going over the top.
I didn't really
This enabled
spend
you to
much
get
time explaining
hands-free
Pillarless.
and allow the trick to be
It's kind of
consumed.
complicated how it works. You have to like get Mario into hands-free mode, and it makes him. I mean, I don't even remember exactly how it works, but that's why before I explained it was just that text box during a montage, and I was like, basically, you throw the bomb, re-grab him, go into hands-free mode, and you move backwards, and you can navigate toward the top of the pyramid. Like that.
With
That's
these
the gist of
setups in
it.
mind, Aki kept doing attempts. On May 10th, the new time saves helped him be 6 seconds ahead of the record earlier. He would bleed some of this time in Fire Sea, but good BLJs...
I also never talked about the up warp. Just never found a good time to mention it, and
Aki had
eh,
done it again.
can't explain them all.
行くぞ世界じゃあ次14行くぞよっしゃ次14行ってるからな
Ludwig.
Incredibly, this record...
You'll notice right here, like, I just put in that clip of Ludwig's cheer just so that he would be in it. So you're welcome, dude. There's no reason for me to add this in right here, except for his cheer.
Incredibly,
So
this
you're welcome.
record put Aki 12 seconds ahead of anyone else on the leaderboard. And he didn't stop there. He kept doing attempts for a lower record. He even had paces multiple seconds ahead of the 1504. But every time, something would kill it.
Yeah, that was a big one, man, when he messed up the submarine. That was a really good pace he was on.
Finally get some competition at the top of the leaderboard. And this particular runner certainly had credentials. He was both
Another
a
Amy
0
Waters
star
song.
and 1-star record holder. He was one of the best in the world at optimizing fast movement. And his name was Dowski.
Another thing right here, another correction that I had to make was I said that he was, like, probably the best in the world, and then people pointed out that there's a bunch of individual star runners that are really, really good at it, 0 1-star runners too, so yeah, I just called him one of the
And
best.
his name,
But he's really, really good at movement. I mean, it's pretty crazy just watching his runs.
Dowski had previously held the 16-star record before, getting a 15-16 the day before Aki got his incredible 15-08. However, this time
See,
he wanted
there it
something
was,
he
though.
got his incredible 54, getting a 15-16
There,
the
I
day
mentioned it.
before Aki got
I was
his
going to go
incredible
into the details of, like, it's lost to time for some
However,
reason, but
this time he wanted something more,
good enough.
a record that would last for a while. Even though his personal best was a few seconds behind Aki, he knew he had the skill to keep up with him. So, Dowski's record attempts began, and on November 17th, he got on a run that fell behind early thanks to missing canalus on the first try. However, he more than made up that time with a faster Fire Sea.
Look at this Fire
including
Sea,
a
dude.
different
Look at this.
strategy At the end where he avoided
How
jumping
cool
on
is
the
that?
edge of the stage. He had a 4-second lead over the record. This actually had sub-15 potential. But as always, the BLJs stood in the way.
Pretty good. Dude, okay, so right here, you'll notice the audio doesn't come in right away on the second clip, and that's because he had, like, text-to-speech going or something, and it would have cut to him, like, a robotic woman's voice saying, I don't even remember what. So I muted it, then it comes in.
They weren't great, but his best possible time was still 1 second ahead of the record. If he could tear through the stage, he'd have a chance.
I don't think I got it.
I think you did. Sir, we are again
As it turns
all
out,
over it.
it would be record by just over a tenth of a second. For the first time in a year, Aki was no longer the record holder. With so many times being set in short succession, 16-star as a category was flourishing. There was really only one
Dude, I
problem.
love this part.
At this point, it had been almost 2 years since someone with a funny username had set a record. In recent months, there had been Aki and Dowski, but to get a
This
good
one was
you
different.
have to go back to Ouija and
'Cause
his 15-17.
I hadn't even planned on saying that. I think I came up with that like 2 days ago. I was just making the section and I was like, okay, I need to find some way to introduce Slippery Nip. I need to do something because I can't just say his name. Like, we got to do something here. and I figured it out. Turned
And
out
even
pretty
that
good.
was not amazing compared to the likes of 420
And we got the
Blaze
shout
Ed
out.
and Shivering Erotic King Banana.
We got to shout out
Well,
Shivering
in
Erotic King
early
Banana again,
2020,
so that's always good.
Someone wanted to rectify that. He started moving up on the leaderboards, going from 5th to 3rd place right behind the two 1504s. And
Had to
shortly
loop the music
thereafter,
here.
third
Normally right after it goes like the rest of the song starts.
place right behind the two 1504s.
So I had to loop it.
And shortly thereafter, he would end up taking the top spot. And the runner's name certainly didn't disappoint. On February 27th, a 15:03 was achieved by Slippery Nip. He gained time early thanks to a faster LBLJ, and managed to match Dowski's speed in making the Tsukishima cycle on the platforms. In Womp's Fortress, he gained time by hitting cannonless first try, partially thanks to a setup by Salt and Ginger to adjust the camera and...
I should have just said it was set up by Salt. Or just called it Salt Cannonless and not given an explanation. People would have thought it was mine.
Which took him 2 tries, but gained about a second back on the BLJs. That worked out to a 15:03, just ahead of Dowski and enough to make Slippery Nip the new record holder. The community was beginning to approach a barrier. They were now just 4 seconds away from a sub 15-minute run. The last time a minute barrier had been broken was almost 9 years prior, with Akira's 15:15.
So this next part, it was obvious I wanted to montage it, because like it was Aki just lowering it pretty much all on his own from 1503 to 1459.
Well, looking at the 15:03 record, the big potential time
It's like a
saves were
clear
4
clear
seconds
montage
lost due
part.
to the MIPS clip, and a few seconds that could be saved on the BLJs. But beyond that, there were still fractions of a second to squeeze out all over. On LBLJ, Lethal Lava Land, Bowser in the Sky, all from subtle, faster strategies or improving movement. Those time saves all added up to a run well under 15 minutes. But someone still had to take it there. And one player who would make a big push was Aki. After getting a 15:03 of his own, Aki would get a very promising run going on May 1st, 2020. It was about even going into the MIPS clips, where he messed up the first one instead of the second one. Still, a strong Fire C and BLJs kept him just ahead going into Bowser in the Sky.
Yeah, this was a pretty
There,
interesting
he was
one.
able to make
He
a faster elevator cycle called Monamo cycle by making his movement
he
as
like
tight as
kind of
possible.
had sub 15 potential going into the end here,
Jump dive onto the
but
platform. 3 throws
I don't know.
later,
I remember I was kind of debating, like, should I make it seem like he was about to get sub 15 and then have him just miss it, or do I just like tell it how it was? I ended up just telling it how it was, because I figured it would be really similar to what happened to Ouija later on. So
なあマジで
1 more second to go. Aki pushed onward over the coming days and weeks, getting great runs on pace that eventually died to something.
I don't think I could find a video of Suiji's 1440x pace.
Were the BLJs.
I think I remember looking for it and I couldn't find it. Like, I had a note in my Google Doc to mention it.
If you didn't get him to catch within a few jumps, it was run over, and even making it through would usually result in losing time. But Aki knew sub 15 was within reach. He just needed one good run past the BLJs. And on May 10th, 2020, Aki had this run. It was about as close to a perfect run.
Again, here trying to make it seem like it
Chances
might have
like
been a
this
failed
don't
run.
come along very often. Now, more than ever,
He had to get the BLJs.
needed to happen.
His heart rate was so low, man. It was under 80. I don't know how the heck he did
just
that.
Needed something decent. Or he could get near perfect BLJs. This was his chance for the run of a lifetime.
Has anyone ever had a best possible time that low going into Bowser in the Sky? 1453. Another great reaction coming right up. People went crazy, man. It's annoying when the opposite happens. It's so good. It's annoying when the opposite happens, when I have runners that like never react to anything. But there you go.
By the skin of his teeth, Aki had pulled out a 14:59, the world's first sub 15. Obviously, as good as it was, this run still had some room for improvement. He lost 6 seconds on the last split for mistakes in Bowser in the Sky. But still, that was it for big time losses. It was an incredible run up until then, and it was daunting to try and beat. For the next several months, there was little action at the top of the leaderboard. The top 3 stayed in the same spot.
This is interesting too. Just real quick, I want to pause it and explain. There's only a few minutes left in the video, but there's a lot that's happened in the last, like, I don't know, year since this happened. There's been like 1458, 1456, a bunch of close calls. And I was trying to decide how in-depth I wanted to go with all this stuff, because there is a lot to talk about if you want to go over everything. But I ended up just kind of talking about like the records and like the one missed one by Ouija, because I felt like it was kind of getting really repetitive at this point, where it's like there were a lot of runs that made it late that just missed, or runs that made it and succeeded. Like I was trying to find if there was like another storyline I could latch onto or something like that, but it was tough. So ultimately, I decided to just keep it pretty simple. Introduce Kano, talk about who he was, talk about Ouija's missed run, and then just go to Slippery Nip's record.
And
I could have done it differently, but
Aki in the elusive
that was my
sub
logic. I think it was getting kind of repetitive at that point, and
See this
I talked
guy
about
down
what I
here?
needed to talk about.
This is Kano, and he was 6th place in the world with a 15:17. He was considered an elite runner of the game, but generally not considered a world record contender. 18 seconds was a lot of difference for a short category like 16 star, and there were several people between him and the top spot. Well, in February 2021, Kano started up a stream on Twitch, and he decided that he wasn't going to end this stream until he set a 16-star world record. He wasn't going to be playing all the time. He'd still live his life and sleep on a normal schedule, but his stream would stay live the entire time.
It's pretty sick, man.
He knew he'd have to do some work given how far he was from the record, but Kano didn't care. He wanted to be the record holder. So, he got to work. Life went on, and Kano kept streaming 16-star. By March, his time was down to 15:13. By April, it was 15:07.
Yeah, he's doing one for, was it
His
0
stream
star or
kept
1 star?
going. He was
I don't
improving
remember.
his skills and getting close to a record level. By May, he was starting to get really close, entering the top 3 with a 15:03. All the while, the length of the stream climbed higher and
Stream
higher,
Unlimited.
going past
So good, man.
1,000 and then
Oh,
past
just anything he feels like,
2,000
okay.
hours.
That's
Until
cool.
finally, on June
Makes him
12th,
happy. That's what's
2021,
important.
Kano had this run. He actually gained some time early thanks to a new strategy in shifting Sandland by Circle Mark 994, but lost a bit on MIPS from slower setups for the flips. He bled a bit more in Fire Sea from an accidental ground pound, and his BLJ
His face after that happened. Look at his face after he ground pounds.
accidental ground pound. And his BLJ
It's pretty
was
funny.
not as clean as Aki's, but he knew the time he could save in Bowser in the Sky. After a clean stage, 3 throws separated him from a record.
So, this was also another editing decision I had to make. Basically, he gets record, and then he has all these stream notifications, like, covering his face. Like, completely distracting from what happened, and, like, I decided to just focus on Mario at the end here, and then cut to his face. And then actually emphasize it once you can see it. There he is. We got the important part, man.
More than 3,000 hours of streaming finally put behind him. Kano went from 6th to 1st, a 15-17 to a 14-58. An unbelievable push that paid off in the end. And Kano could finally hit the end stream button. As the summer of 2021 went on, a few people were going for a sub 1458. One of the most notable players was Ouija. He had set a record 3 years prior with a 1517, but hadn't been able to replicate it.
This
Still,
run.
He was considered a top runner. For years, he would continue lowering his personal best.
There's not much to add on,
staying
like,
within seconds
the
of
commentary
the
part
record
for this
at
part
all
at the end here. It's just like,
However,
I showed the
he
runs.
never was
I
able to
showed what
take the
happened.
top spot again, despite coming close on several occasions.
I knew I had to kind of fake the audience out a bit here. Make it seem like he was doing it legitimately.
After 39 months, thousands of attempts.
And then apparently the way I explained it here wasn't like quite right.
Ouija had finally done it again. He had beaten all the rest and had taken back the world record.
I didn't get it.
He jumped on the first frame. Yeah, I said he like jumped forward. And I mean he did, but like
When Ouija stopped,
Ouija, you fool!
when Ouija stopped to scroll through the text boxes, Mario was facing away.
anyway, I wanted to say that he did
All
like a
had to
frame
do
perfect
was
jump
turn
here, which
around and
would have made
jump
it pretty
into the star.
interesting.
But
but-
he accidentally jumped forward and
Yeah.
lost about a second. It cost him the record. To this day, he's still trying to get it back. But that's not the last run to talk about, because in August 2021, a runner would come back to snag one final
Dude,
record.
I'm so glad Slippery Imp was the last record holder. Just make a point of his name again. It's another montage. It's like, dude, if I had done any more montages like this, they would have gotten so stale. Like, I'm kind of glad it ended here. But anytime you can end with this song, do a montage with it, it works pretty well. Yeah, this one... Yeah, I'll explain that in a minute, Corey.
So, who was the runner? Well, it wasn't Ouija, it wasn't Aki, Dowski, or Kano. There's only one username it could have been.
Slippery Nip. Love this reaction.
Wow. Alright, cool. Sweet.
Like, these reactions like that are great for, like, occasionally in a video, but, like, when it's the same runner reacting like that over and over and over, it's like, oh my god.
Alright, cool. Sweet.
Anyway, there you go. There it is. With a little bit of input from me this time. Hopefully got a little bit of insight into how that went down. The decisions I had to make when making it. Alright, so part one of the stream was the behind the scenes. Part two was watching it with commentary. Now we're going to move on to part three. And it's Q&A. So you guys can go ahead and ask whatever questions you'd like. I'm not going to like pause chat to scroll to read through everyone. I'm just going to pick out ones that I see. I'll hopefully do this for like, I don't know, 20 minutes or something. And in the meantime, I guess I'll put on, I don't know, I'll pick a home song to put on. Maybe we'll do Resonance. Let's do that. Oops. There we go. Alright, here we go. Hopefully that's quieter than my voice. I really hope. Can't really tell. Hopefully it is. Okay. Let's see. How do you gain old footage of runners like Aki who don't highlight everything? Well, he does highlight a lot of his stuff. He highlighted a lot of misses. He highlighted a lot of records. But in terms of people who don't highlight at all, you just can't get their footage. It's pretty simple. And that happens with people like Dowski, I guess. So, when will I start to redo old videos? I don't know. I thought that's what this was going to be. But I ended up doing 16 instead. So, I don't know. Where do you find artists like Home that don't copyright claim videos? I ask on Twitter usually. It's tough too, because like you have to find people who don't copyright you, but then also you need to make sure they don't use samples, they don't use copyrighted sound packs. So you need to like vet them pretty carefully. What are the resources for the early Japanese times that have no video? You'd have to ask Frosty Zacco on that. He's found some old Japanese like leaderboard websites and stuff that go over it. Will I be doing the 32 out of 32? I will not. I have said everything I've wanted to say about that already in the first video. The interesting part of the story already happened with Matthias getting 31 8 different times. So a follow-up now just wouldn't really be interesting. What mic am I using? I'm using a Marantz. I don't remember the model number, but it's made by Marantz. Will I cover chess? Well, I'm ranked like 900 in Rapid, so I don't think I'm quite qualified to say much about chess. I also haven't played in several months now, but anyway. If I could do one topic over, there's a few topics I want to do over, like 120 Star, Super Mario Bros, a bunch of those old Mario videos, Portal maybe. Any Pokemon record histories in the future? Possibly. I would not rule them out. Would not rule Pokemon out. Do I have a plan for what my next video will be? I have a few ones that I am trying to pick from. Why are the Dodgers so superior to the Giants? Check the standings and the payroll. What is my favorite game to replay? Well, probably Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, because I'm replaying it like thousands of hours. It's been a lot of attempts I've made, so I guess I'd have to Punch-Out. Hardest video to research? It's a tough one. Contra was tough because the timeline wasn't really there before I pieced it together. Do I like onions? No. Let's see. Do I have plans on covering more PC games? I mean, possibly. Wouldn't rule it out. I don't know. Like, in terms of, like, what videos I'll cover in the future, it depends what I'm interested in. Like, I'm a pretty big Nintendo fan, pretty big Mario fan. Those are always going to be go-tos, but, like, would I rule out doing a Half-Life 1 video or Celeste one day? Like, probably not. Like, I could do it. So... favorite video I've made? Probably the quest to beat Matt Turk. I think that's still my favorite. My thoughts on the history of the Atlanta Falcons. I watched part of part 1. I haven't made it through it yet, but I mean, yeah, it seemed good. It's John Boyce, so it's like always going to be good. Can I do a Sunshine video? I think Average Trey already covered that pretty well. In general, just because someone else did a video doesn't mean I won't, but for that, yeah, like I'm not going to do anything that, I'm not going to do a Sunshine video. Do I feel creatively boxed in by the formula? I mean, it would be fun to do other types of videos, but it gets tricky. Like, obviously I can't just make whatever I want because I need to have an audience still. but I don't know. I feel like I still have a lot of creative freedom with what I do. I make them in different ways. I pick whatever topic I want. I wouldn't say it's like frustrating me or anything. It's a great question, Pickle Toe. Let's see. How many videos do I have in the pipeline at once? I always have only one video that I'm working on. Sometimes I'll like have another topic in mind, but I won't start like working on it. Have I done a Mario 3? You could just look at my channel, can't you? Like, just go to my channel and look. I've done 2 of them. What was the biggest change I made? Oh man, there's a lot of changes I've made. I've put more of a focus on getting research accurate. I think that's a really big thing. I have put more emphasis on making them cinematically interesting. I've stopped using video game music. I only use copyright-free stuff now, which is just like a common sense move, probably. Yeah. Yeah, that happens sometimes. Do I ever lose interest in a game, scrap the idea? Yeah, that happens. Yeah, I asked him Water is Wet if he has, if the Dowski still has his 1516. He said no, he did not. What is my favorite fruit? Probably either peaches or Rainier cherries. Has anyone ever leaked what my next video will be? I don't think so. Do the Paper Mario RPGs. Paper Mario I could see myself doing one day. For the most part, not any other RPGs. I just really like Paper Mario. It's a pretty good speedrun. Video that took the most research? I mean, honestly, this one's pretty high up there because I was familiar with Mario 64, but not with like every single trick and the whole timeline and everything. This one did take a lot of time to research. I don't know. Any more penny streams? Possibly. I haven't really made any bulk penny purchases in a while, so I don't know. I need to find someone. I might like go to the bank and get a box and search that. Maybe that could be fun. How do you uncover and reconstruct the specific storylines? Yeah, I mean, I honestly think that's the toughest part of what I do. I think it's probably the thing that I feel like it's maybe the most unique skill that I have. Like, not like nobody else does that or nobody else is as good as I am at it, but like, I feel like it's a tough skill to acquire. And it's hard to really explain like how you do it. You just have to get a feel for it and figure out what's interesting, figure out different ways to approach it, just think in your head, figure out what sounds good. How much time was spent on writing, recording, and editing? I would say, let's see, the research was like a good month and a half at least, and then putting the whole thing together was like another month. So, I mean, editing, I edit as I go. Recording is fast. Like, I just record lines pretty quickly. Do I feel pressure to upload? Yeah, I do. It's not like anyone's fault or anyone's problem. It's just like, if I haven't uploaded in 3 months, I'm like, I gotta get going, I gotta upload. And I try to work faster. Yeah, like I know, do I ever watch Virtual's videos? I know like what he does, Trackmania. I've seen a couple of them. It's pretty cool. Alright, a couple more minutes and I'm gonna call it, I think. How difficult can it be getting a hold of certain speedrunners? You don't really need to get a hold of that many. You just need like a crew of people that can help you. And then occasionally you might need to reach out to someone to ask them a question, but usually it's just like Twitter. Do people recognize me IRL? Well, people don't really know what I look like, so no. Ever going back to Sonic? Yeah, maybe. I don't know if Sonic 1 would be a good video, but I've been thinking about that. Do I have any background in presentation or performing arts before YouTube? I do not. Longest video I'd be willing to make a progression record video? That's tough. I really want to keep them under an hour. I really, really want to, but I feel like at some point I'm going to make one that's over an hour, and I don't even know what to do. Now, have I ever been recognized by my voice? I have talked with people about my channel before who didn't know that I was summoning Salt, and they had no idea it was me, so... Yeah, I'm gonna upload this video to my... Well, I don't know if I will for sure, but I might upload this video to my alternate YouTube channel. Alright, I think I'm gonna call it there. I will turn this off now. Thank you all for watching. Appreciate you guys stopping by today, asking questions. Hope you enjoyed. This was fun. I don't know if I'm going to do this for every video I upload, but every now and then it could be fun. And in all likelihood, the next time I stream here will be the next video I upload, which I'm hoping will be like October, maybe early November, something like that. So I will see you all then. Thank you for watching. Please share my video with people, get them to subscribe. I'd appreciate that. Have a good one.